Welcome to today's episode of Revolve Commercial Podcast. I am your co-host Samantha Riley, and alongside Mish Daniel, who is the commercial expert here. Mish, it's a very different topic that we're going to chat about today, right?
Yes, Sam. It is rather different. We're talking about the business inside of the bricks and mortar, and we'll go through it. But when you're buying commercial property, you're always looking at the business that's driving it. But
Yes,
let's
yes.
face it, they are paying your rent, and you want to make sure that they continue paying your rent. You
I
know,
like I like this because I'm a big out of the box thinker. So when you sent me a message, you went, "Oh, I've got something different." I was a little bit excited, like, "Oh, what are we going to be talking about?" Because you have mentioned before that the commercial property is only as strong as the tenant inside. This is a very different strategy that you're going to talk about. And it's not just owning a piece of the tenant, it's also adding another layer, equity crowdfunding. So, do you want to walk us through this? Because this is
yeah.
like a layer upon layer. It's like a Sara Lee cheesecake, layer upon layer upon layer.
I think the Sara Lee cheesecake tastes a bit better, but I guess when it lands in your pocket, this feels a
I
lot better.
don't know.
Yeah, so look, it's a little bit of a different mind shift, and it was a conversation that I was having with a tenant. And usually commercial investors, we the landlords, and we provide the shell for the tenants, and the tenant provides the heartbeat, really. But if you've got a world class tenant that's absolutely exploding, and you're just collecting your fixed rent, all you're reaping is your rental. You're not getting that advantage of their growth curve, let's call it. So,
Mm.
you know, and while chatting to him, I was thinking, and he was talking about crowdfunding, and I was thinking about it, and I thought, bloody hell, he's got $77 million worth of work in his pipeline. Why not get a bite of his cherry?
Absolutely.
Get a bite of that pie as well. But anyway, so we got chatting about it. And yeah, and he said, absolutely, if you want to put it out there and if you want to invite your investors to have a look. I've done quite a lot of research over the last couple of weeks, and I must say, quite impressed with what I'm seeing.
So you're talking about a specific Queensland manufacturer, and like you just mentioned, they do fit your dream tenant profile. Talk to us about who is this person and what's this dream tenant profile?
Okay, so the company's name is Segrist, which is a very unusual name. I think it's probably a name of a family or something in years gone by. Segrist manufacture industrial fans,
Mhm.
extraction fans, and I thought, wow, how boring. But then it's like really geek stuff. But you know what? If I had a factory like this in one of my buildings, I'd feel slightly different about it. So this is kind of like your dream tenant because they just pay the rent and they keep expanding and growing and whatever. So what they do is they got me thinking. They've been around for about 35 years and they've completed over 35,000 projects over that time period. They supply ventilation systems to blue chip giants. So in the property world, these are ones that you'd fight to have in your buildings
So is
because
this your supermarkets and your big box retailers? Is that what you're talking about here?
this is most definitely your big box retailers. It's your essential recession resilient tenants. And I'm going to bite my tongue as I'm saying that. So yeah, a couple of their clients are Woolworths, as you mentioned, Visi Glass, Air Liquid, Real Pet Foods, Electrolux, food and agricultural processing laboratories. So these are all types of businesses that require these humongous fans, these monstrous fans in different sizes and dimensions for extraction, for blowing, for all of this kind of stuff. And where do you get those fans from? I mean, if you think about it, you walk into these buildings, you see, well, you don't really look, you don't really see the fans. They're just doing their work quietly in the background. But somebody's got to supply those
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. So the industry that they supply is endless. He was telling me it's warehouses, car parks, spray booths, welding stations. I was like, whoa, okay, stop already. It's basically every single industrial property that you can think about,
So
you
you
know.
mentioned it's boring, but I'll tell you what's not boring. Doing a turnover of 77 million. Like, that's pretty cool.
Well, I wouldn't call it quite a turnover at this stage.
Okay.
And it's a little less left field of commercial, so commercial, but it's what's in the pipeline. So at the moment, I think they're probably doing about 3.3 million, and 77 million would be jobs that they've got out on quote, with a high percentage of getting those, landing
Gotcha,
those,
gotcha, gotcha.
yeah, those projects in the pipeline. They've spent years building proprietary software that can double their quoting capacity and their capacity. So they're looking at this and saying, hey, you know what? Let's do some crowdfunding, bring people into it, which becomes the vehicle. Instead of just owning the roof over your head, you can invest in this company and be part of that. So, in other words, you become a shareholder of the company itself and get a bite out of that $77 million growth.
I like that.
It's yeah, it's, as you said, layering layers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like it. I like this where it's going. So, for someone that's listening that is used to having the security of bricks and mortar, how does this make their money work harder?
Well, think of it as a diversification toolkit. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Commercial property gives you that beautiful, predictable cash flow and asset security. But equity crowdfunding gives you a seat at the table of that huge growth curve. And that's what we're looking at over here. I mean, the only thing that got me thinking about it, that opened my eyes to it, is when I heard the 77 million, and I thought, woo, growth curve. Okay. This is a company that's at the beginning of heading in that direction. When a company scales into massive sectors like mining, data centers, healthcare, you aren't just collecting rent, you're actually capturing the kind of explosive upside that a landlord can only dream of. You want your tenants to do well. You want them to be having good times so that you don't have a problem. The rent
Well, I
just
was going to say, if you're also helping them do that, then your tenant is more secure.
correct.
Like there's multiple ways in here.
Yes, absolutely. There's a multitude of this, and the fact that they're doing a crowdfunding, I think, is fantastic. They've opened it up to our community, and they're offering it to our community, to saying, if you want to get a bite of this cherry, here's an opportunity. So
Mm.
tip your toe in, and it's into business equity without needing the millions of dollars. Instead of opening your own factory, this is just taking a slice of that pie.
Yeah, totally. So, what I'm hearing as you're saying this is that this is a really great way to dip your toe into business equity without needing that millions of dollars to get started.
100% right. Absolutely. It's about adding a growth dimension to your portfolio. You keep your property stability, let's say, but this is an opportunity to use high equity stakes to accelerate your wealth. So it's just another vehicle, really.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about, let's say, diversification, balance. Commercial real estate is slow and steady.
Mm-hmm.
This is cash flow and security. So
Mm-hmm.
when these companies break into high stakes market like data centers or biotech, you're there, you're with them, and you become a shareholder, you're a participant, and you're participating in a vertical scale in a way that landlords simply can't, that you can't do in commercial. So it's
Mm.
just, dipping your toe, as you said, into something else.
Yeah. I like this conversation around diversification. You've spoken around diversifying within commercial property quite a lot, but now you're talking about, all right, well, let's think outside the box a little bit and come up with some different ways to diversify. And I think that that's a very smart conversation to have so that you're using different strategies at different times. But I know that this particular strategy that you're talking about, well, not the strategy, the actual opportunity,
Yeah.
there's a quite a tight window for this. So what's the timeline on what you're speaking about today?
Look, this one is quite a tight deadline because I said I only had the conversation the other day. And when he started telling me the dates, I thought, it's a little bit tight. But anyway, let's just put it out there anyway. they've already started their expression of interest. So we kind of coming in on the tail end. And he said, look, it doesn't matter if there are people that are interested, then you can still register. So if listeners, if you are interested in this, you can still register. It takes 2 minutes and basically locks you in for further private investments, or the round that opens yesterday or opened yesterday on the 5th of March. I'm mentioning dates in this instance. There's also an opportunity for early birds where you can double your rewards, your priority access. They're running campaigns right through. And this campaign in particular closes on the 26th of March. So if this is something that is of interest, I'd say jump in now. We're going to put a link into the show notes. Just go and check it out. There's no obligation whatsoever. If you like what you see, then obviously you can take it forward. But I think just to check out, what it is and see how it works, I think is a good opportunity for the listeners if you're in that space.
Well, I'm thinking even just a great learning opportunity, even if you decide it's not for you, to jump in and see what's going on and just see some different ways that things can be done.
Yeah, and I mean, if somebody's been thinking about doing this, like we said earlier, for $500, it really is a bite at getting into a really good industry that I think has got massive growth in it.
Yeah, totally. Fascinating. I love what you've brought to the table today. I think that this is such a cool conversation. So, yeah, I think it's worth just scrolling down and having a look at that link and just seeing if it's something that looks good and showing you interest.
Well, it piqued my interest, Sam, because it's industrial and it's a great business, and I never expected to hear those figures when I got chatting to them. So it blew my mind.
Yeah, nice.
But remember, always read offer documents and consider the risk warnings before you jump in. So any links or anything that we're putting in there, please do them mindfully and consider all the risk warnings in that.
Nice. Well, thanks for bringing this conversation to the table, Mish. It's been eye-opening.
Yes, a little bit left field of what we usually do, but super excited and always nice to do something different. So thank you, Sam, yet again. You've
Pleasure.
been a fabulous co-host with me.
Thanks. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you from the next episode of Revolve Commercial.
Thanks, guys.